This is Suhit. He launched an online business that does over $170,000 a month, and now what's even crazier is that Suhit is only 21 years old. I want to find out exactly how Suhit was able to go from zero all the way to making millions every single year. So I sent Suhit a message asking if he could reveal the keys to his success, and immediately he agreed. So after this, he sent me a location on where we're supposed to meet, but here's when I ran into a problem. The location he sent me was for a place in Glasgow. Suhit was inviting me to go to Scotland, and what Suhit didn't know was, I hate the Scottish accent. And if he was inviting me to Scotland, that means he's probably Scottish. For 2 hours, I sat and just thought about cancelling the video, but then I came to a conclusion. This wasn't about me, it's about my viewers, my loyal 1,000 subscribers. So I packed my bags and booked the next flight to Scotland. Yo, are you Suhit?
Nice to meet you, bro.
You as well.
Is that the right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like you're doing pretty well. What do you do?
So it's kind of similar to what you do, online agencies, but it's a little bit different. I got a twist. Come with me, I'll tell you some more.
Okay, cool.
So it sounded like Suhit ran an agency just like me, but there was one big twist. And I wanted to find out exactly what that big twist was. He then took me down to a cafe and I sat him down to ask him as many questions as I could.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing me through. So you mentioned that you had a bit of a twist when you run your agency, and it's a bit different to what we do at Karak. So what makes you guys different in terms of what you guys do?
Yeah, so basically I run an influencer marketing agency. So very, very simple terms. You know your YouTube influencers you have online. Brands want to reach their audiences. So how do they do that? They want to spend with these creators. But brands don't know how to access the creators, and they also don't know the best ways to do it. So brands would come to us and ask us, right, I want you to spend 500 grand and make us this much back, the influencers. So they come to us, we have the client, we spend with the influencers, and we basically take our agency cut in the middle. Very, very simple business model at the fundamental. A lot more obviously in there, but fundamentally it's literally middleman. We connect brands with influencers, take a cut, and deliver our service.
So if I'm a company, I'm like, oh, I want to have like, I don't know, KSI promote my product, you're the guy to kind of go to.
Yeah, you would come to an agency like us, or KSI's management, or an agency that can access KSI, and we would be able to run that deal for you.
Wow, so you've worked with some big names, it seems like. So who have you worked with in the influencer
Yeah,
space?
so I've never actually worked with KSI myself, but I've partied with him before.
Wow.
It's quite weird, I partied with him before working with him. But I've worked with all the other sidemen. So I worked with like Vicstars, like one of the main sidemen I work with like literally all the time. Literally phone him up right now if you want.
You can phone him.
You can phone him up right now on WhatsApp if you want to. So with like most of the sidemen, met all of the guys, party with them all. Worked with like guys like Nightscape. Worked with I don't know if you know Mike Malak, Logan Paul's co-host.
Yeah, that dude. That guy's huge.
Worked with him. Yeah. I want to say like now we're in a place where we can basically access any creator that you ask me about. Even if we don't know them personally, I can access them somehow.
That's insane.
We've got ourselves to that position.
Wow, and like in terms of like big brands, like who have you worked with like in terms of big brands?
Yes, I've worked with like Asus, the global tech brand is one of my clients, which is still blows my mind. We do Acer UK, their whole gaming strategy, and then one of the really, really cool ones that I'm really proud of is we do AB InBev. So for those who don't know who AB InBev is, it's basically the company that owns 80% of the world's beer. And then we work with some smaller, more e-com based businesses who are like really high growth potential as well, but those are like our three big names.
It sounded like Suhit had a lot of success working with some huge names in the gaming industry, but I wanted to find out more, and this is when Suhit took me on a trip down memory lane. So where are we right now?
This is my bedroom in my parents' house. So my childhood bedroom where I grew up from the age of 5 till 18, and this is like where the whole business began. From this desk, it was. It's kind of nice now, but it was like a wee wooden desk with a laptop, really red laptop that's probably up there somewhere. And like I literally just built the business from this room with a single bed and a desk here. And then now it's like exploded into something way bigger.
You've mentioned that you've started your influencer marketing agency, but how did it actually first get started then?
So I've been doing online entrepreneurship, I think, since I was like 13. So that's like 7 or 8 years now. And it's kind of weird to think that like a random 13-year-old kid, instead of being outside playing football with his mates, is sitting like trying to build a business. It's looking back and I think like what a nerd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's paid off. So I was doing this for like since I was like 13, and then I guess the first 3 years I'm not really gonna talk about it. It was a bit irrelevant. Like I was trying a bunch of things online, failing at things, getting over by people online. Then when I turned 16, this was like the kind of big break. So I got a job at a company called ESL, which is the world's biggest esports company. And they took a massive gamble on me because I was just this like random 16-year-old kid from Scotland. But the guy that hired me was like, I see a lot of myself in you that, you know, when I was younger. So they hired me there. I was their youngest ever employee. They were based in Germany, hiring this guy from Scotland who was still in school. I was like, this is crazy, this is nuts. But that was like, they gave me my first big opportunity. So I'm so thankful for that. So I got hired to do influencer marketing there, and I learned so much. So I was working with huge creators and huge brands and really learning like actually how to pitch to bigger brands, bigger creators, and build out influencer marketing campaigns. So I worked there for 6 months, and I think that's really how, you know, I learned most of my trade, and that's how I really got started to then build Saunderson.
Right, so what was the transition like? Like, what happened when you actually moved from, you know, working there to, you know, start your own agency? It's a pretty big step, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty big step, but as I say, I had this like 3 to 4 years of experience of trying and failing online, and I had all these connections from ESL. So I was actually able to start the business very quickly, a lot quicker than most people would be able to. You know, I literally quit ESL one day, started Saunderson the next day, was able to bring over some of my influencers from ESL straight away, had a bunch of client connections. So honestly, like, you know, how most businesses and most young people, it would take much longer, we were able to do like 100K in 6 months simply just because of the connections and the network that I built from ESL, which is why I always personally say the most important thing about being an entrepreneur is that network.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive. 100K in the first 6 months.
Yes, it was pretty mad for 17-year-olds.
Shit, so how much are you on track to do this year?
I think around 2 million. So it's grown a lot since that first 100K, I gotta say.
That's pretty mad. After we toured Suhit's family house, he then took me for a drive and we stopped by one of the most surprising places yet.
I brought you here, which is the Beats in West of Scotland Cancer Centre. So I didn't mention this earlier when I was talking about ESL, but basically why I actually left ESL wasn't really because I was just going to start the business, it was due to something else. So back when I was 16, whilst I was working at ESL, I was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer, and I was getting treated somewhere up the top in here. So I got a cancer called stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma. Roughest period of my life, 6 months getting chemotherapy. You know, I was just in shock and disbelief, and like, you know, if anyone gets cancer. But I was 16 years old, right? It's like, how the f is a 16-year-old kid who's lived a healthy lifestyle, did sport, never drunk, nothing, you know, how have I got cancer, you know? And, you know, I thought I was gonna die for a while. And, you know, my perspective on life really changed at this point, and my mindset was like, if I'm not going to be alive in maybe a year's time, 3 years time, 5 years time, I have to go out this world making some sort of impact. For me, like, all my life I've always wanted to be successful and like do something in my life and leave some sort of legacy, and I was like, I've not done anything like that yet. Obviously, I mean, I'm 16, right? I obviously hadn't done anything at that point.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have to do something about this now. So I was like, right, I've got to take action right away. So quit my job at ESL and started the business the day after, literally from inside the chemo ward. I remember being there getting treatment, and I would just have my laptop up on the thing, and I'm getting chemicals pumped into me, and I'm just typing away. My fingers still work, you know, my brain still work. I get the website set up and everything. But it was like, I needed to do it at that point. But it was also almost like a release for me. It was like an escape. It was like, I forgot that I was in this ward getting cancer treatment because I was so focused on building. You know, when you're like so focused on building something, you forget about everything else.
Yeah.
So it was really good like that. But, you know, that's what life was like before, what we've seen today and stuff, you know, building a business from my bedroom and, you know, getting cancer treatment. And I think for me, honestly, that's like, I think that like was my second life when my perspective shifted. It was like, you know, I think I changed completely, go through a massive transformation. I feel like when you have like a traumatic experience, you have two options, right? You either sink and wallow away in what's happening and go down a really dark path, or you decide to swim and you make something yourself. And, you know, luckily I was the one, and I've been able to do something, you know. Now I come back here every 6 months for a checkup because I'm still in remission, and I look and I'm like, wow, like 4 years ago, I was in that situation, and like, you know, look how far we've come now.
I guess the final question I'd also like to ask is, I mean, you've literally been through everything, right?
Yeah.
What would you recommend to people who are starting off, but probably not in as worse a situation, or maybe even worse situations? What would you say?
Honestly, there's always like kind of 3 things I recommend. So the first thing is that a lot of people wait to take an opportunity in life, and obviously I waited, right? I waited until I had this happen to me in my life. I always say, like, don't wait for something bad in your life to happen before you take that action, right? If you want to do something, just do it. It doesn't need to be business. doesn't need to be whatever, but if you want to, you know, write a poem, write a book, whatever, start a business, like you just gotta go out and take that action, because you're gonna regret it at some point later, or you're gonna do it too late. Everyone's always waiting for that perfect time. There is never a perfect time, right? Because, you know, you say, oh, I'm busy this week, you just keep delaying things, right? You know this, right? If you don't take that first action, you're gonna delay things, right? And you're always 1% closer to your goal if you actually do something about it than if you just stay in the same position. So I'd say that. And then secondly, the main other thing is like, make sure you build your network as young as possible. For me, I personally think that if you have 0 other skills, but you have a good network around you, you can literally do anything, right? Because if you don't know how to do something specific, if you have people who know how to do that, they're going to teach you, they're going to help you. If you can provide value to other people, they're going to come back tenfold and help you. Like, for example, with me, you know, I'm trying to multiply my wealth, you know, all the time. I don't have enough time to look into like crypto. I don't have enough time to study the property markets fully. I have people in my network who know and are proficient at this. That means I can instantly multiply my net wealth just by having those people around me. So I truly think if you can build your network, that you're gonna have some sort of success in life. And like, that's benefited me so much. Like, my whole business is basically built with networking with high value people, you know, like yourself, like other YouTubers, like content creators, like brands, to elevate me in other ways. So I'd say that is the other thing. And the third thing is discipline is so important. A lot of young guys, especially with like us, you know, we get too caught up. You know me, I like to party a lot, but a lot of people, like, they don't find that discipline to, like, you know, it's too much, I gotta get back to work. Discipline is so important because you can be motivated, right? For certain periods, but you're not always gonna be motivated. There's times where I hate what I do. I'm not motivated at all. I'm like, honestly, I should just quit right now and just go get a corporate job or whatever, you know? I mean, I've never said that, but you know what I mean? Like, But discipline is the thing that keeps you going through. The success is definitely, you know, it is definitely due to discipline. You have to be fully disciplined in what you do, otherwise you're never going to reach that goal. So I say those are the 3 things that I always give as advice for younger people, or even just other people starting out. There's discipline, network, and also just taking that action.
And after that very emotional story and huge learning lessons, Suhit then took me to the final destination, which was to actually go pick up one of his friend's McLarens. Pretty gangster, right? So we're here outside the McLaren garage. You've come to pick up a McLaren.
Not mine, my friends, but soon come.
Soon come. So my last question is, after you got ill, do you think you would have not started an agency if you didn't get ill?
I've always wanted to be like entrepreneurial, and I want to be an entrepreneur, but I do think that getting ill was the catalyst as to why I started a lot earlier. So I think, like, if I didn't get ill, I probably would have done uni, maybe get a job for a little bit and then started something. But I think obviously the fact that I got ill was the reason that I started it right away. So I think short answer, I would have started it, but not at the same time that I did.
So do you think it reminded you of, like, life is short? And
yeah, 100%. It's like, literally, this is the whole thing I was saying to you earlier about like the plan B thing. Anything can happen at any point. You never know. Like, you get in you know, I'm not gonna jinx. I could drive this car, get in a car crash right away. You know, I could get ill, or my whole industry could be wiped out. Like, life is very, very short, so you just have to, like, take the action, like, straight away. So it definitely did remind me of that.
Wow, that's a really awesome message. Thank you so much for, you know, having me in Scotland. Like,
No
I really
worries,
appreciate
it.
man.
And let's drive this thing.
Let's go drive this thing. And you won't be seeing this, but what you will see is if you click in this direction right here, you'll be able to watch how this guy went from 0 to $1 million, just basically running an agency just like this guy.